I'm Russell Manning. I'm the Managing Director of Manning Stainton Estate Agents. If you're a first-time buyer at the moment and you're looking at considering buying your first property, then I would think about the following things. The most important thing you need to do is make sure you're buying for the right reasons, first of all. And I would say the right reasons are now to think about buying a home, principally, somewhere for you to put some roots down, somewhere to come home to on an evening, somewhere perhaps even to think about starting a family, and look at it as a home rather than necessarily as an immediate short-term investment. Finding what suits your particular requirements and also your living accommodation requirements. If you've got a young family, for example, then an apartment might not be the ideal scenario with stairs and lifts and that sort of thing. Maybe something with a nice garden. If you're just starting out and you want convenience, economy certainly, then apartment more likely fit the bill. Think about what your particular requirements are and make the property fit those requirements rather than necessarily the other way around. I think we've all got to accept that property prices are slowing down, so the gains that people have seen in the last few years might not be appropriate for the next few years. In any 10-year timescale, and you can pick any 10 years you like, since the war, property prices have always risen. You certainly have had short-term blips, and we may well be in one of those at the moment. If you're looking to buy today, don't think about trying to resell it in a few months' time and make any profit. You probably need to be thinking 2 or 3 years ahead. So take a slightly more medium to long-term view. I think that's the first objective. The other thing is to do your homework. Have a good look at the market. Make sure you're looking in the right location, the right sort of property. Get a feel of where the prices are. There's lots of websites, there's lots of information out there that you can access these days. You can even look at property prices that were sold just a few months ago. So lots of places to find out about what's going on. And I think the third thing, at the moment, as important as anything, is to make sure you're getting good quality mortgage advice so that you know what the parameters are, what you can afford and what sort of deposit you will need, if any, what the sort of repayment profiles are like, what the range of options are, because there's lots of different ways of doing it. There's not one size fits all. One of the challenges facing a lot of younger people today who want to get onto the housing ladder is the affordability factor, and that's a question of prices and a question of mortgages. The good news is mortgage rates are coming down, so from that point of view we're not seeing a rapid rise in mortgage rates, so that's great news. And as to how you can move forward, well, there are a number of areas. Clearly a deposit is a useful thing. If you've got some deposit, you'll generally find you'll get a better mortgage rate. So it might be the time to go knocking on the door of mums and dads and wealthy aunts and uncles and all that sort of thing. And we are seeing a trend towards what's generally called lifetime wills, where rather than waiting till people unfortunately pass away, what they're doing is they're giving gifts to children and family members in their lifetime to enable them to move on to the housing ladder, which is a nice thing to be able to do. Joining together with a like-minded person to buy in joint ownership, again, is quite a nice way of moving it forward, as long as you both clearly understand what the parameters are and what would happen if one of you or other of you wants to move on and the other doesn't. You need to think about the consequences if things either don't work out or there's an individual change in circumstances. There are some shared ownership schemes out there, more than there have been for a while, worth looking at, where you buy a percentage of the property and the balance is rented. Sometimes you can staircase up, so you start off at perhaps, say, 50% of the purchase price and you're allowed to buy more as you can afford it. There are alternatives out there. Again, I think it comes back to doing your homework, getting all the facts and figures. One of the things that's changed the property market, in my view, over the last few years is the internet. It's worth spending time looking at. And that way you're fully armed with all the facts and figures. There are lots of ways of doing it. Maybe thinking about looking in areas which might not be quite your ideal location, but, tick some of the boxes and start thinking about moving there. And then 2 or 3 years down the line, maybe moving up from there. That's something we've seen quite a bit of, particularly in places like Leeds, in the last few years. Just opening up the mind a little bit, I suppose, just thinking of the various options that are available. The rates are changing in the mortgage market almost daily. There's attractive fixed rates coming out, for example. Some of the lenders are tightening up the amount of deposit you need. So you need to get good independent mortgage advice that can look at the whole of the market, not just look at one particular lender or one particular type of product. I think when you've got all that information together, then the thing to do is to start having a look around and just see if there's anything out there that fits the profile that you've assessed for yourself and try and stick to that fairly rigidly. Don't allow yourself to get carried away and buy the right sort of property with the right repayment profile. Think of it as a longer term investment and a place to live in, and you're not going to go far wrong.